Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 45. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajagacharya Stotara Sata Shri Srimad Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prince Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 45. Prayatnadyatmanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishai aneka jama samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. Prayatnadyatmanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishai Aneka jama samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. Prayatnadyatmanastu yogi samshuddha kilbishai Aneka jama samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. Prayatnat, by rigid practice. Yatat manaha, one who endeavors. To, but. Yogi, such a transcendentalist, samshuddha, washed off, kilbishaha, all kinds of sins, aneka, many, jamma, births, samsiddha, so achieved perfection, tatha, thereafter, yati, attains, param, highest, gatim, destination. Translation and purport of Srila Prabhupada. But when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately, after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Purport. A person born in a particular righteous, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contaminations. When he is finally free from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed of all contamination. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yesham tu antagatam papam jnananam punyakarmanam te dvandamoha nirmukta vajante mam dridavrataha. Jananam punyakarmanam. After many births of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contaminations and from all illusory dualities, one then becomes engaged in a transcendental loving service of the Lord. Prayatnad yatamanastu yogi samsuddhi kilbishaha aneka jamma samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. So in this verse, two comments are important. Samshuddha kilbishai, or to be free of all sins, and yati param gatim, to go to the supreme destination. We cannot expect to achieve the supreme destination without being qualified. Even on the material platform, which is a reflection of the spiritual platform, you have to become qualified to achieve anything. Nothing just happens by chance. So similarly, in the spiritual world, to live there and to interface with Krishna, you need to be qualified. And what is qualification? The qualification is devotion, bhakti. Just like in a normal relationship between friend and friend, or man and woman, lover and lover, there has to be devotion for the relationship to work. You cannot take advantage. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that everything has to be done for the pleasure of yajna. Doing something for the pleasure of somebody else is the symptom of love. That you do something not for your pleasure, but for the pleasure of somebody else. And the paradox is, you would think that if I don't put my pleasure first, and I put somebody else's pleasure first, then I will be shortchanged or I will be lacking. But no, the paradox is that the more you please others, the more you become pleased yourself. Why is that? That is because our nature, our essential nature, is to serve. And when we engage in service, we become satisfied because we're doing what we were designed to do. Instead of giving, if we develop a mentality of taking, as it is in the present civilization in which we live, we will never be happy because we are putting the cart before the horse. So, Krishna advises that everything we should do is for the pleasure of yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. But it is said in a Veda, yajna vai Vishnuhu. that Lord Vishnu is Yajna. In other words, the purpose of giving pleasure is to give pleasure to Krishna. When we give pleasure to Krishna, we automatically feel pleasure ourselves. Why is that? That is because we are eternally connected with Krishna. Just like my stomach, it is eternally connected to all the senses of my body, my mind, my intelligence, my heart, especially my heart. And when the stomach becomes satisfied, the body becomes satisfied, because it is a connection between the body and the stomach. When you water the roots of a tree, the whole tree becomes nourished. You don't have to water each leaf and branch separately. Just by watering the root, the tree becomes satisfied, because the tree is coming from the root. It's connected to the root. In the same way, we are coming from Yajna, we are coming from Krishna, from Vishnu. We are eternally connected with him. But because we have a slight amount of independence, we have the ability, we have the prerogative to misuse that independence. And when we misuse it, we become disconnected from Krishna. Just like I am free to love you, and I can build a relationship with you. But if you understand that I do not wish internally to love you anymore, but I wish to love myself more than you, then the relationship breaks. Indeed, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a very nice description of what is love. Love is that, pure love is that situation in a relationship when there is every cause for the relationship to break, yet it continues. That is considered to be pure love. Just like a mother, she purely loves the child. The child may reciprocate or not. He may be a naughty child, he may be disobedient, he may leave home, he may do so many things, but the mother's love continues independently of what the child does. So this is real love. So this love is the basis of a relationship. Now, in the material world, because we don't know each other's inner feelings, because we can act so nicely, because we are so desperate for love, we are willing to accept even the shadow of it. That's why we love the movies and theater so much, because we identify with the lovers there and we feel the same feelings. But it is false, it is temporary. Whereas our relationship with God is eternal, and he knows what we're thinking, he knows what we are feeling, and therefore he can judge whether we are qualified to be with him or not. Very, very simple. It's not a particular religious principle. It is valid everywhere, in all circumstances. Whether you're a Christian or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Hindu, love is love. There is no Hindu love or Buddhist love or any more than there is Hindu gold or Christian gold. Gold is gold, love is love. And when it comes to loving relationships, Krishna is in our heart. He is waiting for us to actually love him sincerely. And if we don't, if we live in the material world, then we will be frustrated at every turn until we come to the point of satisfying yajna. Therefore, Krishna says, yajna arthat karmano. Your karma, your activities should be done for the artha, or for the benefit of yajna, of the Supreme Lord. Yajna arthat karmano. Anyatra, otherwise, karma bandhana. That activity will bind you up. It will lock you in the material world. It will lock you out of Krishna, because there is no sincerity. Krishna is not going to waste his time satisfying you to want to be independent of him. He will maintain you, but he will not give you his personal association. And in fact, he will not give you anything that will cause you to come back again and again asking for the same thing. You may ask Krishna, please give me material facility, and he will give you. You come into the material world. But again and again and again, it becomes a frustrating exercise for Krishna. It becomes and then he says, all right, be on your own. You cannot have me. So, yajna artat karmano, anyatra karma bandhana. If you don't worship Krishna, if you don't work for the pleasure of Krishna, you become bound up. Bhunjate tetu agam papam ye pachanti atma karanat. One who cooks pachanti atma karanat for the pleasure of his own stomach, for the pleasure of himself, bhunjate te agam papa. He simply becomes entangled in more and more sinful activity. It's just like if I become a guest in your house and I don't recognize. In your house, you provide me with everything. You provide me with food, you provide me with shelter, but I don't recognize that. If I take advantage of it, once you realize that your guest is taking advantage, you want to get rid of him. Therefore, in India, it is said that if you want to get rid of a guest, you don't feed him for 3 days. Then he will automatically leave. So it all hinges on this sincerity. So here, some Shuddha Kilbishai, to become free from sinful activities, means to become free from the propensities to cheat. Normally, there are two kinds of people. One kind of person wants to do good, and one kind of person doesn't care. He will do whatever he wants to satisfy himself. He doesn't believe in retribution, he doesn't believe in karma, he doesn't believe in the next life. But most people want to do good. And people who want to do good, there is a philosophy behind it, and that is called karma mimamsa. Actually, there are 6 basic philosophical schools in India. And one may answer, if there was so much philosophy in India covering all aspects of material endeavor, how come it has not been propagated in the West? Why they don't teach it in the universities and schools? Well, there is a reason for it. The reason is that Western activities and Western philosophy has been colonial from day one, at least for the last many hundreds of years. They simply wanted to exploit the rest of the world, and it's going on today. Nation is fighting against nation to exploit material resources, to live a better life at the expense of others, which is the antithesis of religion. We should actually want to live for the benefit of others. Then we become happy. Why do we become happy? Because our Father becomes happy just as much as if the brothers cooperate with each other, then the parents become happy. If the brothers fight with one another, exploit one another, how do they expect the Father to be happy? How do we expect God to bless us or to give us happiness if we don't follow these very basic, simple principles? Therefore, Yesham tu antagata papam, that antagata means which is anta, which is internal, and papa means sin. When you get rid of the internal sin, jananam punya karmanam, by performing pious activities, then te jammamoga nirmukta bhajantamam dhridavrataha. Then you can actually worship Krishna by going inside. So, as I said, most people want to do good. And this philosophy of wanting to do good, or wanting to do your duty, or being lawful, being non-violent, helping others, is called karma mimamsa. It's one of the 6 philosophical schools which you find in the Vedas. So, this karma mimamsa was propagated by the sage Jaimini. And that philosophy says that if I do good, if I follow the law, if I follow religion, then God has to bless me. This is called karma mimamsa. Then the second of the Sat Darshana, or the 6th philosophy, is called Sankhya. Sankhya means to analyze the material elements. And the propounder of Sankhya was Kapila. Originally, Sankhya, taught by Kapila Dev, the son of Devahuti, was to examine the material nature and to understand by this examination that we do not connect with it. It is not really a permanent situation. It is a temporary prison-like situation. It is not answering my question. Therefore, we have to look for something beyond material, beyond the 24 elements of Sankhya, and that is Brahman or spirit. So this is the Sankhya philosophy. Later on, another Kapila came, Nirishwar Kapila, who is not the Supreme Lord, who is not an incarnation of God. And this Kapila taught that simply by understanding the material elements, that is the purpose of life. Then the third philosophy is Paramanuvada, or Vaisheshika is called also. And the sage Kanada, he promulgated that. That is similar to the present scientific theory of studying the atomic energy, that everything begins from the atom. And from atomic energy, life comes. But I was reading a very interesting quote today, and the quote said, one scientist says, to believe that by the manipulation of material energy, to believe that by the movement and interaction of atoms, life is possible, is like taking some dice and throwing a 6 every time 5 million times. Every time you throw the dice, you get a 6. For 5 million throws. Impossible. So this Paramanuvada is also not a proper understanding of our relationship with God. It's not a proper understanding. It is not a complete understanding of our situation. There is no example where life comes from matter. If you look at all our history, our philosophy, our sciences, our disciplines, there is not one example that can be proven that from matter life is born. Okay? So then you have the philosophy of Nyaya by sage Gautama. Nyaya means logic, that we study the material situation and we see it is full of suffering. Therefore, we interact less and less with the material energy to diminish our suffering. That even according to Nyaya or logic, even happiness is the foundation of suffering, because happiness is temporary. Therefore, after we enjoy happiness, we will suffer even more. Then you have the fifth darshan, which is called yoga, propagated by Patanjali. That is the process of controlling the body, controlling the senses. Yama, controlling the external energy. Niyama, controlling the internal energy. Asana, sitting in a secluded place, away from matter, away from interaction of the material plane, in the forest, detached from everything. Then pranayama, breathing process to cool down the senses, to calm the heart, to become peaceful, to be able to remain breathless without any movement. It is called pranayama. When you're in that position, then you can practice pratigraha, dharana. You become fixed in this equilibrium, and you can become detached from all material things. Pratigraha. Then you can actually meditate on the super soul within the heart, which is called dhyana, and the ultimate goal of that meditation is called samadhi. So this is the yoga process, Patanjali. And the sixth darshan is Vedanta, also known as Uttara Mimamsa, propagated by Vyasadeva. And Vedanta is Atataha Brahma Gigasu, the conclusion of knowledge. Veda Anta, Anta means the end or the conclusion, and Veda is knowledge. The conclusion of knowledge is to inquire about the spirit, is to become humble, because you cannot inquire if you're proud. Inquiry means that you don't know. So inquiry means humility. So in a humble way, we inquire about our situation by going into the heart. It is not that difficult. Krishna is monitoring us at every moment. And these philosophies, these Saddarshans, have been propagated in India since time immemorial. So the question comes back from the beginning of the lecture that I was speaking about. Why is it that these six darshans, Saddarshan, are not propagated, not taught practically anywhere? They are only taught, studied by some obscure scholars. It is not mainline. It's not mainline teaching, mainline knowledge. It's because we are living in a society which is based on exploitation. When the Mughals and then the British first came to India, their business was not to learn anything from India. Their business was to rob things from India. The Mughals that would come from Central Asia, especially Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, they would raid Punjab and Sindh and steal and then go back. And eventually they were able to overcome India and settled in India for 700 years. But they never actually understood the purpose of Vedic knowledge. And after the Mughals were defeated, the British ruled India for 200 years. When they came to India, they couldn't believe the opulence of the country. They simply shipped all the goods to England. They built the railways so that they could facilitate the transportation of natural resources to all the different harbors to load into ship, to ship it back to Europe. In fact, Western Europe is based the wealth of Western Europe is based on what has been stolen from Central Asia and East Asia. So in this way, the six philosophies are not understood, and even Indians themselves, they practically follow karma mimamsa. They say we should just have a good life, do good, don't do any harm, don't hurt others, don't steal, don't lie, just follow the law, follow dharma, and then automatically we will get the blessings of God. But actually, if our intention is simply to do good and remain in a material world, we can remain in a material world. We can even go to the heavenly planets where we can enjoy millions and millions of times what we can enjoy here. But as Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna. There is one problem with being satisfied with material enjoyment. There is one problem becoming a demigod and going to the heavenly planets, living hundreds of thousands of years with the most beautiful man, the most beautiful woman, the most beautiful art, where you can fly in flower aeroplanes, where everything is subtle, you can go anywhere at any time. There is one problem, punaravartino. You keep coming back again and again. Even if you go to the highest planet, eventually you have to come back down. So Krishna says, Mamupetya tu. However, if you achieve me, punar jamana vidyate. You don't have to take another birth. And to achieve Krishna, you have to become free. You have to become free from the propensities to cheat, the propensity to lie, the propensity to steal. You have to become honest. You have to become a good son. Therefore, in this verse, Krishna glorifies the birth in a pious family, or in a family of brahmanas, because in a family of devotees, because then from birth you can be trained in spiritual life. And the authority on devotion, Prahlad Maharaj, he explained that Komara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatam iha. That this Bhagavad Dharma, or the Dharma of understanding the Supreme Lord, should be taught from the very beginning. Therefore, teaching children is a very, very important part of material life. We all want love. We want to have sex life. We want to have family. Krishna says, go ahead, have it. Prahlad says, do it. But teach your children from the very beginning of their lives so they can understand what is Bhagavad Dharma, what is the purpose of life. And what you teach a child, he will remember the rest of his life. Good. Thank you very much. So we have a few comments from Mandy Priyo. Good evening, Hare Krishna. And Atma Vidya, all glories to all the devotees. Thank you. Good evening to all. And Vishnivamsa, all glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you very much. And we will see you again next week this week on Friday. Hare Krishna.